What, you don't think I could beat all those games? How about an entire lifetime to do that, buddy? It's not that big of a list. You don't think I can beat him? Huh? Calvin doesn't think I can beat him. He doesn't think I can beat this bucket list of games. Well... Hello everybody, I am back with another video. Today this video is going to be a response to the Happy Console Gamer. Both Johnny and Robman had a small list of games that they want to complete at some point in their lives. You know, I could go on all day with a slew of games that, you know, many people deem their favorite games of all time, or just, you know, some games that really just define certain generations that I could talk about today. But I have a small list that I put together that, you know, are just some really interesting games that, you know, for some are their favorite games of all time, and for others, you know, they've just hold these games in really high regard. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started with my list, and please, guys, feel free to do a video response, but post it to Johnny's video, or comment below on some of the games that you have, or that you'd like to get at some point and play before you kick the bucket. Okay, so the first game on my list is actually a series of games, one that many people hold in very, very high regard. It's an RPG series, none other than Final Fantasy. Now, obviously this series goes way back. We're already 15 games into development at this point, so there are quite a number of games in the series that I'd like to go back and play. While I would like to play all of them at some point, I do own quite a number of them. I chose 4 here specifically that I want to focus on, hopefully within the next, you know, decade or so. I can really, you know, kind of buckle down and play these 4, because I would say that these 4, maybe not all of them here, but most of the games here in this Final Fantasy series are the ones that people kind of associate with the Final Fantasy name. These are the definitive titles that you want to play to experience and get a feel for what Final Fantasy is. The first one being Final Fantasy VI or Final Fantasy III here in the States. A game on the Super Nintendo I never experienced, and you know, there's so many other ways you can play this game. Of course, on the Wii Virtual Console, the Game Boy Advance, it was ported to that, but originally it was released on the Super Nintendo, Super Famicom. So hopefully at some point I can play this game. I know, Dustin Christ, this is your favorite game of all time, and for good reason, for what I hear. I'm just going to get killed, murdered. Let the hate mail start coming in now that I have not actually played this game for more than, I would say, 30 minutes, and that is Final Fantasy VII. I know, guys, I haven't played it. What can I say? You know, I'll just leave it at that. I have played Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core on the PSP, and I've also watched Advent Children. So I know the big spoiler of this game, but as Game Fan Magazine boldly stated way back when, quite possibly the greatest game ever made, and I haven't played it. The next 2 we have here were on the PlayStation 2. We have Final Fantasy X, which has an HD remake coming out, so I'm going to wait on playing this on the PlayStation 2 and just wait for that HD remake to come out. And then a game that I really wanted to get into because I never really want to get into an MMO. I just don't want to get sucked into a game like that. But I've heard that Final Fantasy XII kind of emulates the MMO, you know, battle system, and also just the world that you kind of traverse. Kind of mirrors an MMO, or really kind of similar to, you know, a massive multiplayer online RPG. So if that's the case, I'm really excited to play Final Fantasy XII. I believe Johnny actually had this in his list, so we can play together, brother. But yeah, Final Fantasy XII, 10, 6, and 7 are all games that I want to complete at some point in my life. The next game we have here is actually one of my favorite N64 games. I would easily put it in my top 5 list, even though so many people really don't like this game for some reason, and that is Donkey Kong 64, one of my favorite platforming games of all time, and one of my favorite Rare titles as well. It is an absolute collectathon, no doubt. There are some of the most wackiest characters in here, You got Chunky Kong, Diddy Kong, Donkey Kong, Lanky Kong. I don't even know what the little girl is. What is her name? I don't even know. Tiny Kong is her name. Some of these Kongs are just completely made up. They're not even actual, actually a part of the Kong family, if you will. But this is such a fun game, and it is a collectathon. You go all over this island, going into all these like little worlds, and you just have to collect bananas and balloons, and I don't even remember all the stuff that you have to collect in this game, but it's insane. And it takes upwards of 35 to 40 hours to actually 100% this game, so it'll be quite, the difficult task, but I also have the guide here, so hopefully with this on my side, and the interwebs and all those other things, this should seriously be no issue at all, and I think it'll be an absolute pleasure and joy to play this game. And if for nothing else, every time I boot up my system, I get to listen to that awesome Donkey Kong rap. Nothing better, right?
Here we go.
The next game we have here is Resident Evil Code Veronica X on the PlayStation 2. Now, I never really played any of the earlier Resident Evil games, and for good reason. I just could not overlook the robotic character movements. It reminded me a lot of the earlier Tomb Raider games on the PlayStation 1, where, it just made moving around the world so difficult. But I feel like I can overlook that. I played about an hour of this game not too long ago, and I really did enjoy what I played. I definitely saw how it kind of retained that early Resident Evil feel with the survival horror elements. It wasn't all gung-ho, blowing people's heads off like the Resident Evil 6, 5, and 4 are these days. It was actually genuinely creepy, scary, suspenseful. It was thrilling. It was a thrilling experience from what I had played. So I'm really looking forward to kind of, testing my patience, if you will, with this game, and stepping back into that world, and maybe someday going back to Resident Evil 2 as well, because after watching Johnny's video about that, it really kind of amped me up to get into this series and find out why it was so highly praised back in the day, and how it really kind of defined what a survival horror game really was. The next game we have here got just dozens of Game of the Year awards when it first came out, all the way back in 2004, which is kind of scary to think about that Valve is still kind of sleeping at the wheel with this series, and that is Half-Life. Half-Life 2 is a game that I know so many people just love to death. Some people deem it their favorite game of all time, and for good reason. I heard the storytelling is just second to none with this series, and if that's the case, I want to jump in Gordon's shoes, and I want to find out what this game is all about, and hopefully at some point I can complete Half-Life 2 Episode 1 and 2, and then hopefully see Half-Life 3 in the near future. Valve, get on it, man. Now, my history with the Legend of Zelda series is not really as complete as I'd like it to be. And one entry in the series that I'd really like to go back and play, that didn't come out too long ago, is Twilight Princess. And while the game is on the Wii as well, it was made, built from the ground up for the GameCube initially, and that's why I want to play it on the GameCube. That's why I have the GameCube copy here. And hopefully I can go back and at some point play this game, because I've heard from many people, it's one of their favorites in the series. While it was a great kind of departure from Wind Waker and certainly the earlier N64 entries, many people really do enjoy this game. And from the music that I've heard from the game, it's absolutely wonderfully orchestrated. And I've heard the dungeons in this game are really interesting as well. And I find the whole transforming into a wolf mechanic kind of thing really interesting. And so I want to get into this game at some point, and that's why I've included it on this list. Now, the final game here is an RPG, one that I'm not really sure how I'm going to play. I'm probably going to have to get it on the NES, because I don't see the Wii compilation that was released in Japan ever coming over here, and I can't play this version because it's in Japanese. But I've become a huge fan of Dragon Quest, and recently talking to my friend Dustin Kreis, this is his favorite Dragon Quest game, so, I hold his opinion in pretty high regard, so, I'm going to have to take his word for it and somehow play this game at some point in my life. That is Dragon Quest 3. I had the Super Famicom cart here, but again, I don't speak Japanese whatsoever, so I cannot play an RPG not understanding what the characters are saying. And I don't have a Super Famicom, so that's a problem. But anyways, Look at the box art. Akira Toriyama is the absolute man with his character drawings, and I love that. And then on the back here, it kind of has all the different characters I think that you either interact or play as throughout the game, which is really cool. But anyways, I really would like to play this game at some point. If it's his favorite Dragon Quest game, then it's definitely a game that I must play. Although I'm also hoping for Dragon Quest VII to be ported here on the 3DS, because originally it was on the PlayStation 1, but it's so expensive, and it was released in Japan on the 3DS, so hopefully that comes over here. But Dragon Quest III is definitely on my bucket list of games to play at some point. So that's my list, guys. I don't want to go on too long. Please let me know in the comment section below what some of your games are that you'd like to complete at some point in your life. You don't have to own the game. You don't have to have ever played the game at all. Just let me know what some of your bucket list games are. Do a video response if you feel comfortable. I'd love to go ahead and watch that as well. But if you do a video response, please post it to Johnny's video, because this is kind of his idea. So thanks for the chance, giving me the chance to do this video, Johnny, if you get a chance to watch this. And thank you guys for watching.